Changing a battery on a 2010 Chevy Impala with a 3.5 liter V6. You will need a 10mm socket to get the negative and the positive terminals off. So you just loosen those. It helps if you have an extension. Makes it a little easier because it has this little piece in the way here. This little black piece. Once you get those loosened, these should wiggle off. There's the hot is off, and the ground might be a little bit trickier because it was very corroded. Again, this is a 10mm on this. Now, this one probably wouldn't hurt. Went over to our trusty toolbox over here. And this battery is junk. Usually I would advise nobody to ever pry on battery terminals, but this one is going to be traded in as a core on a new one anyway, so but you do have to be careful, because the last thing you want is battery acid all over you. So now you got those off and out of the way. If you look down there, I'm not sure if you can see it very well, that bolt is a 13mm, and you're definitely going to need an extension for this. Because that sucker is way down there, and that holds the battery in place so it doesn't move around. And you can loosen that up. Now, with some finagling, you can probably get the battery out after just loosening that up, but you already have a 13mm anyway. Why not just take out these 3 bolts and get this metal piece out of the way? All it is a support, and with a little bit of persuasion, they will break loose. I had a 2003 Impala, and the battery was in the same spot. It was 3.8 liter, and I had to take this off to change the battery. After you get all this off, the battery should pull straight out. It's out, and this swings out of the way. It has a little wire connected to it that goes to here. You can disconnect that if you want, to get maybe a little bit more room. I'm just going to try to wiggle that without it. And then we've got this loosened up down here, which you may have to take it all the way out. I always try to see if I can get it out without doing that. Sure enough, this one was stubborn enough. I went ahead and loosened it all the way. We'll set that over here with the bolts. Now the battery should come out. May not be able to film this part since I'm only using one hand, but you should be able to scoot the battery forward and watch out for the top hose to the radiator, and it'll pull straight out, and then time to put in the new one. Okay, now it is dark. I went and got the new battery from AutoZone, and they were kind of idiots about the whole situation. But anyway, we'll get back to installing the battery. So, got the new battery. What I like to do, because this vehicle had such bad terminals, and they were so corroded, I have this little tool that I got from Harbor Freight. It's just a little terminal male female cleaner. It's only $1, but you can take that and run it through here, twist it a few times, pull it back out on both sides, get those all nice and clean, and then you can just drop the battery down in there. Battery in, retightened up my bolts here, and now we've just got to put the block back in. I like to at least get it set in there before I tighten it down. There's a little rib on the side of the battery right here, and this flat part sticks into the battery itself, and then you can thread the bolt through the hole, and once you start to get it threaded by hand like I've just done, then you can tighten it up with the 13mm socket and ratchet. Get that snug, and then after that's snug, take your freshly cleaned connections. I always put the positive on first, because the negative is the ground, and that's what's going to ground everything out. So usually you get less sparks. I guess I should have commented, make sure that whenever you tighten down the piece that holds the battery in place, not to get your cables stuck. I apologize for this. I'm trying to do this in the dark one-handed. Okay, here we go. Alright. Here a little bit of electrical connectivity. Alright, and then all we'll simply do is switch out our 10mm socket once more. Make sure that these connections are tight, but you don't want to crank on them so much. You don't want to crank on them so much that you actually are putting a bunch of leverage on the terminals themselves, which these new ones aren't as bad. The way that these tighten on is different from most old ones. It's got one off to the side. Instead of, they used to be, you had to put in your socket like this, or a wrench. And you could really get a lot of leverage on the posts that way and possibly break them off. So this way, these are a little bit better because they tighten and you can get a bunch of leverage without putting as much stress on the post itself. You're just putting stress on the bolt. Okay, so now we're done. Just double check, make sure no wires are gonna get in the way of the serpentine belt. Looks like we're good. So, final test. Go ahead and hit unlock. Everything lights up, so it looks like we're good. But you, of course, always want to give it this test. Started up just fine. Make sure we don't have a low battery light. It says check tire pressure, but I think we're good. If you have any questions, feel free to comment or subscribe. Send me a message to my inbox, and subscribe to see more. Thanks.